y'all, so today is the beginning of our quadratic project. So the first thing that I really want you to do is I want you to go get your camera and I want you to take a picture. You're going to find a parabola somewhere in your house and you're going to take a picture of it, okay? I found a parabola in my cat's tower. And so you can see the parabola shape right here. So I took a picture of it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this directly to my Google Drive. Okay, I just need to go find it. There it is. So I'm just going to save it again directly to my Google Drive so that I can access it here in a minute. And then I'll show you what to do from there, okay? So go get a picture. Again, you want a parabola shape object somewhere in your house, okay? All right, so the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to go to Desmos, okay? So here I am. I'm on the Desmos calculator, and what I want to do, obviously we're going to start graphing, but I'm going to put my picture right here on my graph. So I'm going to go to this little plus sign where it says add item, and I'm going to add my image, okay? So when I add my image, I think I'm going to have to go save it from my Google Drive. Yep, I sure am. So let me go take care of that. Okay, so here I am in my Google Drive, and I am just going to come in. I'm going to download my image. Here it is. The only thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that I know where it is so that I am able to go find it later, okay? So I think I'm going to add this to a new album. Maybe we'll call this album Quadratic Project or something just so that I can go find it here in a minute. So let me go back to Desmos, go add my image in, and I'm going to go find that picture. Let's go find it. Nope, not in here. Where did I put it? You guys probably know better than I do, right? But there it is. Saved picture. See it? All right. Look at that. There it is. There's my picture. Okay, my parabola picture. So I can click on this picture and I can move it around wherever I want, but what I really want to do is I want to try to get it, it's easier if you can try to get it centered on your origin or around your origin. You don't have to by any means do it that way if you don't want to, but you definitely want to get your parabola shape onto Desmos. So there it is, okay, all ready to go. Okay, so you have a picture, you added it to Desmos. Step number 3, we're going to go identify our 2 zeros and our vertex, okay? So on Desmos, we need to go find where our 2 zeros are and where our vertex is. So let's go in there and see what that looks like. So I need a 0. Remember, a 0 is where it crosses the x-axis, okay? So it looks like I have a 0 right here. So I'm looking at this shape as my parabola shape. So it looks like I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So every 4 tiles represents a 2. So it looks like this 0 is at 1.5, 0. So I'm going to go put that point into Desmos. So remember, coordinate points, right, have to have parentheses around it. And so when I type that in, oh no, it looks like I'm off a little bit. So it's not 1.5. It looks like I might be at 1.25. So I'm going to go put that in. Oh, that looks much better. Much, much better. Okay. All right. Let's go get my other 0. So it's going to be this one. So I'm thinking it's going to be at negative 1.25. Now, you might have yours at a much easier location. Maybe yours is at an exact -2 or an exact -4 or whatever it happens to be, and that's okay, okay? But we're going to identify these 2 zeros and then our vertex. So remember, your vertex is the highest point, and it's also directly in between, halfway in between your 2 zeros. And so I centered it on the origin, which is why I think this is the easiest to do, so that these 2 zeros end up being the same, okay? Just opposites, but the same. So this vertex is at 0, 2. So I'm going to go put that point in. Okay, and there I have my 3 points on my parabola shape. Now what we have to do is we have to go write an equation. So that is step number 4. So step number 4, again, is to write the equation, but what I want to do is I want to be able to type the equation in so that I actually get a parabola shape on top of the actual parabola equation or parabola graph on top of my parabola shape picture, okay? So that's what we're going to do for step number 4. We're going to go write the equation. So let me show you how that works. All right, so step number 4 is writing the equation, and what's going to happen is that you might end up needing to do some troubleshooting. You might get really, really lucky, and you might have been really smart and picked the right location, but if you don't get the right location, you might have to do some troubleshooting, and that's actually what I'm going to do right now. So I'm purposely going to do this incorrectly, if you will, okay? Because I want you to see how I'm going to go about troubleshooting. Now, I want to go back and I want to look. I need to go write my information down, okay? So on my paper, I'm just going to write down these 3 points that we got, okay? So I got a 0 at 1.25 and at negative 1.25, and then I have a vertex at 0, 2, okay? So I'm just writing that information down on my paper. Now, keep in mind that something is missing in our parabola, right? So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start to write this equation. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my zeros. Okay, so we're going to use the zeros to write the equation, okay? So when you write the equation with the zeros, remember it's the opposite inside your parentheses, okay? So to get a positive 1.25, I would put minus 1.25, right? Because remember, if I put this equal to 0 and add 125, I'm going to get a positive, okay? This one is going to be x plus 125, okay? Now, this is what my y is. This is what my equation is. I'm working on getting that equation, okay? So I'm putting my zeros in, and remember, you need to do opposite signs of your zeros, okay? All right, so now I'm going to FOIL, right? We're going to just double distribute and multiply this out. So when I do that, I end up with x squared. I get a positive 125x, negative 125x. For mine, those are going to cancel, and then I'm going to get a minus 156.25, okay? So this is what I have for an equation so far. Let's go plug that in to Desmos and see what happens. So if I type in y equals x squared minus 1.5625, what's wrong with my parabola? Well, check it out. It's going the wrong way, right? It's got to be upside down, okay? Now, here's the other problem. If I just make this a negative, look at where my parabola is. So something's not right with this parabola. This is not the right equation. So let's go back. So what we have to do now is we have to use our vertex, okay? So now we're going to use our vertex. And what we need to find is we need to find the A value. What is this A value that we're going to have that's going to fix our parabola shape, okay? Now we have to think of this A value as a GCF because remember, just a plain old 15625 didn't work, okay? And so we do have to have that factor in there. So now I'm going to use my vertex. My vertex, remember, was 0, 2. So 0 is my x number, 2 is my y number. I'm going to substitute them in and solve for A. Okay, I'm going to substitute it in and solve for A. So let's go do that. So I'm going to have 2 equals A times 0 squared minus 15625. Okay, don't round. I'm not rounding. Okay. So 0 squared minus this is just a negative. So I have negative 15625a equals 2. And to get rid of this, I'm going to divide both sides, right? So let's divide by negative 15625. negative 15625. And I get an A value of, my handy dandy calculator says, negative 1.28. Okay, so my equation, if I go back up here, is going to be y equals negative 1.28 times x squared minus 1.5625. Okay, so I'm going to go take this equation and go type it into Desmos, and let's see what happens. So here we go. Y equals negative 1.28 in parentheses x squared minus 1.5625. Look at that. I got my vertex, right? My parabola is now going through the vertex and going through my zeros. Yay! So I'm hoping right now that you're thinking, wait a minute, Miss Hunsker, something doesn't look right. I want my parabola to lay perfectly on top of my parabolic shape that I found in my picture. So what I need to do, because this parabola is not correct. So remember earlier when I said you may have to do some troubleshooting? Here it is. Okay, now is the time for this troubleshooting. Okay, so let's go back to our picture. I need to remove my picture and move it around into a little better location. So what if I moved my picture down and I made my vertex, instead of being 0, 2, let's make our vertex 0, 1 and see if that is a better representation of our parabolic shape. Okay, so I'm changing my vertex from 0, 2 to 0, 1. So that means down here, instead of a 0, 2, I want to do 0, 1. I'm troubleshooting to see if I can get a better answer or a better parabolic shape, okay? So instead of a 2, I want to make this be a 1. So let's go plug that in. So 1 divided by negative 15625 becomes a negative 0.64. So instead of this number, let's try negative 0.64. Everything else is the same, right? My x squared, my 15625, because I didn't distribute it through. I just went ahead and figured out the parentheses, okay? So this is still the same. The only thing that changed is I'm putting a 1 and I'm dividing 1 by it instead. So let's go see what that parabola looks like when I type that in. So y equals negative 0.64 x squared minus 1.5625. And look at that, ladies and gents, that is a much better parabolic equation to represent this picture in that particular shape than our first one was. So we're going to get rid of this one and we're going to keep this one. Nice! I love it. Last step. All right, ladies and gents, last step, you're just going to write it in standard form. Remember, standard form is going to be ax squared plus bx plus c. So I just need to take this equation and distribute it through and get it into this form, and all is right with my world. So when I distribute, I get negative 0.64 x squared, and when I distribute a negative and a negative 1.561, I end up with a plus 1, okay? If you need to verify that that is in fact the same equation, you can go type it into Desmos and make sure. So let's go do that. Negative let's put my 0, x squared, and we said it was plus 1, and look at that, it is the same equation, okay? All right, that is amazing. So remember, you're looking for a parabolic shape somewhere in your house, and you're going to write an equation that represents the parabola part of your equation. You want it to be on top, and you want to try to find the best parabolic equation that you can. Nice.